The great council chamber was silent. Thousands of eyes watched from every corner of the massive hall. Representatives from hundreds of alien races sat in long rows that stretched far into the distance. Bright lights filled the room. Giant screens floated above the audience. Every important leader in the galaxy was present. At the center of the chamber stood a single human. Ambassador Daniel Hayes kept his back straight as he looked around the room. He could feel the stares of countless alien leaders. Some looked curious. Some looked angry. Many looked pleased. They already knew how this meeting would end. At the highest platform sat the 12 members of the Galactic Council. These powerful leaders controlled most of known space. Their decision could change the future of entire worlds. Today, they were deciding the future of Earth. The council speaker, a tall, silver-skinned alien named Verex, slowly stood from his seat. "The final hearing will now begin," he announced. His voice echoed through the chamber. A giant screen lit up behind him. Images of human ships appeared. Human colonies, human cities, human fleets crossing the stars. The species known as humanity has repeatedly ignored council recommendations. Verex continued. Murmurs spread through the crowd. They expand too quickly. Another image appeared. They refuse political control. More whispers followed. They continued developing military technology without council approval. This time, several alien leaders nodded. Daniel listened quietly. He had heard these accusations many times before. The truth was simple. Humanity was growing faster than anyone expected. In only a few hundred years, humans had spread across dozens of worlds. They built colonies where others saw empty rocks. They created cities on frozen planets and deserts. Where other races saw problems, humans saw opportunities. Many aliens respected that. Others feared it. The screen changed again. This time it showed human warships, the largest ships ever built by Earth. "They are becoming a threat," one council member said. A few leaders clapped. Daniel frowned. A threat? Humanity had never started a war. Humanity had defended itself many times, but they had never attacked anyone without reason. Still, the council had already made its choice. Everyone could see it. Verex turned toward Daniel. "Ambassador Hayes, you may give your final statement." The human stepped forward. The chamber became completely silent. Daniel looked around the enormous room. Then he spoke. "For over 2 centuries, humanity has been a member of this galaxy." His calm voice carried through the hall. "We traded with our neighbors." He paused. "We helped defend council worlds during pirate attacks." Several alien representatives looked away. "We shared technology." Another pause. "We respected every species we met." The audience listened carefully. Daniel took a deep breath. "The truth is not that humanity is dangerous." His eyes moved toward the council members. "The truth is that humanity is different." Silence filled the room. "We explore when others stop. We build when others wait. We dream bigger than others believe possible." A few younger alien delegates nodded. Daniel continued. "And because of that, some of you are afraid." The chamber erupted into angry whispers. Several council members looked offended. But Daniel did not stop. "You fear what humanity might become." The room grew louder. Verex struck his staff against the floor. "Order!" The noise slowly faded. Daniel stood tall. "If Earth has broken a law, show us the evidence." No one answered. "If humanity has attacked innocent worlds, show us the proof." Again, no answer. The silence itself was the answer. Daniel already knew. This trial had never been about laws. It had always been about fear. The council speaker slowly stood. "The hearing is complete." The giant chamber became silent once more. Every eye focused on the council platform. One by one, the 12 council members cast their votes. The results appeared above the chamber. "Guilty, guilty, guilty, guilty." The votes continued. Daniel felt his stomach tighten. Not a single vote supported Earth. Finally, the last result appeared. The decision was unanimous. The council speaker raised his hand. "By order of the Galactic Council, Earth and all human colonies are hereby removed from council space." Gasps echoed throughout the hall. Even some aliens looked shocked by the severity of the punishment. Varix continued. All trade agreements are canceled. Another screen appeared. All human access to Council technology is revoked. More whispers followed. Human vessels will leave Council territory within 1 year. The room felt colder, and humanity is permanently banished from known galactic space. The final words hit like a weapon. For a moment, Daniel simply stood there. 1 year, that was all humanity had. 1 year to abandon everything. 1 year to leave their homes, stations, and colonies. 1 year to disappear. Across the chamber, some alien leaders smiled. Others looked relieved. They believed they had solved the human problem forever. Daniel slowly looked around the room. He memorized every face, every smile, every expression. Then he spoke one final time. His voice was calm, but somehow that made it more powerful. You believe this is the end of humanity. The chamber became silent. You believe Earth will fall. Nobody moved. You believe we will disappear into darkness. Daniel's eyes locked onto the council members. You are wrong. The words echoed through the hall. A strange feeling spread across the audience. The human ambassador was not angry. He was not afraid. He sounded certain. Daniel straightened his uniform. Humanity survived ice ages. We survived world wars. We survived disasters that nearly destroyed our civilization. His voice grew stronger. And we will survive this. The room remained silent. Then Daniel delivered his final message. A message that would be remembered for the next 100 years. One day, humanity will return. No one spoke. And when we do... He looked directly at the council. The galaxy will remember this moment. Without another word, Daniel turned and walked away. The massive doors closed behind him. The council believed they had won. They celebrated. They laughed. They forgot about Earth. Years passed, then decades. Eventually, an entire century disappeared into history. Humanity vanished beyond the edge of known space. Most aliens stopped thinking about them. Many believed they were extinct. Then, exactly 100 years later, an emergency alarm sounded inside the council capital. Military officers rushed through command centers. Sensors across the galaxy detected something impossible. A massive fleet had appeared from deep space. Not 10 ships, not 100, thousands. The unknown vessels moved together like a steel storm. No records matched their design. No database could identify them. Fear spread across the galaxy. Then the first image arrived. An officer stared at the screen. His face turned pale. At the front of every ship was a symbol, a blue world, a golden eagle, and a single word, Earth. The humans had returned. And this time, they were no longer asking for a place in the galaxy. The year after Earth's exile became known as the year departure. Across human space, billions of people watched the news in disbelief. The Galactic Council had spoken. Humanity was no longer welcome. Trade routes closed overnight. Council checkpoints blocked human ships. Former allies suddenly refused to answer messages. Many people were angry. Others were afraid. Some believed humanity should fight back immediately. But Earth's leaders knew the truth. A war against the entire council would be suicide. Humanity was strong. The council was stronger, at least for now. So humanity made a different choice. They left. The largest migration in galactic history began. Thousands of human ships gathered above Earth. Colony fleets arrived from every human world. Gigantic carriers carried entire cities. Industrial vessels transported factories. Science ships carried libraries and research centers. Everything humanity needed for survival was packed into enormous fleets. Families stood together and watched their home planets disappear behind them. Nobody knew what waited beyond the edge of explored space. Nobody knew if they would survive, but they had no choice. The galaxy had turned its back on them. Now they would build a future somewhere else, far beyond known star maps, far beyond council territory, far beyond civilization itself. The journey was harder than anyone imagined. Years passed. The fleets crossed regions of space that had never been explored. Many ships disappeared. Some were lost in gravitational storms. Others vanished near strange stars. Several colonies suffered food shortages. Diseases spread. Equipment failed. There were moments when everything seemed hopeless. People argued. Leaders disagreed. Entire settlements nearly collapsed. Yet humanity refused to quit. Whenever one colony struggled, another came to help. When ships broke down, engineers worked day and night to repair them. When supplies ran low, people shared what little they had. Every hardship made them stronger. Every loss taught them something new. Years later, the fleets reached a region no alien race had ever seen. What they discovered changed everything. The region contained hundreds of untouched star systems, planets rich in minerals, moons filled with rare resources, entire systems waiting to be explored. Humanity had found a new home. The first colony was established on a world called Nova Terra. The planet was beautiful. Blue oceans covered much of its surface. Green forests stretched across massive continents. The atmosphere was breathable. For the first time since exile, humanity felt hope. Soon more colonies followed. New worlds appeared every year. Settlements became cities. Cities became nations. Nations became planets filled with millions of people. Humanity was no longer running. Humanity was growing. 20 years passed, then 30, then 50. The children born after exile grew into adults. Many had never seen Earth. Many had never even visited council space. To them, exile was a story told by grandparents. But one thing never changed: the memory. Humanity never forgot what had happened. The story of the council's betrayal was taught in every school, not to create hatred, but to remind future generations of an important lesson. Never depend on those who fear your success. As the decades passed, human science advanced faster than ever. Without council restrictions, researchers explored ideas that had once been forbidden. New engines allowed ships to travel farther than before. Artificial intelligence helped manage entire colonies. Medical technology doubled human life expectancy. Energy systems became so powerful that entire worlds could run for years without shortages. Then came the breakthrough, the invention that changed humanity forever: the quantum gateway. Scientists discovered a way to connect distant systems instantly. Travel that once required months now took minutes. The impact was enormous. Trade exploded. Colonies became connected. The growing human civilization transformed into something larger, something united, something powerful. During a meeting on Nova Terra, Earth's remaining governments made a historic decision. The old divisions would end. No more separate nations. No more political rivalries. Humanity would stand together. One civilization. One future. One empire. The Terran Empire was born. For the first time in history, all human worlds stood under one banner. The symbol spread across every colony. A blue Earth surrounded by golden stars. The same symbol that would one day terrify the galaxy. As decades passed, the empire expanded rapidly. Exploration fleets discovered hundreds of systems. Shipyards grew larger than cities. Orbital factories surrounded entire planets. New military fleets protected human territory, not because humanity wanted war, because they would never be helpless again. Deep inside the empire, enormous construction projects began. Secret projects. Projects known only to the highest leaders. Entire moons were converted into shipyards. Artificial worlds were built in deep space. Scientists developed weapons and defenses beyond anything the Council possessed. Human engineers pushed technology further every year, and still they continued. The galaxy believed humanity was gone. That mistake gave humans something priceless: time. 100 years after exile, the Terran Empire stretched across thousands of star systems. Its population numbered in the trillions. Its economy surpassed anything humanity had imagined. Its fleets filled entire sectors of space. Yet most importantly, the empire was united. One evening, Emperor Marcus Hale stood inside the Imperial Observatory. Stars filled the enormous glass dome above him. The ruler of humanity quietly studied an ancient object displayed in the center of the room. It was old, very old, a recording from the day Earth was banished. The image flickered. Ambassador Daniel Hayes appeared on the screen. The same words echoed through the room. One day humanity will return. The Emperor watched silently. Then the recording ended. A door opened behind him. An officer entered. His face showed excitement and concern. The Emperor turned. "What is it?" The officer handed him a data tablet. "Long-range scouts have completed their survey, sir." Marcus read the report. His eyes narrowed. Everything was ready. The fleets, the technology, the empire. A century of preparation had finally reached its end. The Emperor slowly looked toward the stars, toward the distant galaxy that had once rejected humanity. For 100 years, the Council had believed Earth was dead. For 100 years, they had forgotten their warning. The Emperor smiled slightly. "Send the order." The officer straightened. "To all fleets, sir?" Marcus nodded. "To all fleets." The officer hurried from the room. Minutes later, across thousands of systems, the same message appeared on billions of screens. A simple command. Only 4 words. "The return begins today." Across the Empire, enormous fleets powered their engines. Thousands of warships left their shipyards. Massive carriers entered formation. Ancient stars lit the path ahead. And somewhere far away, deep inside Council space, no one yet realized what was coming. Humanity was finally going home. The Galactic Council had enjoyed 100 years of peace. At least, that was what they told themselves. The truth was different. While humanity had disappeared beyond known space, the galaxy had slowly changed. Old alliances had weakened. Trade disputes had increased. Pirate attacks had become common. Several Council worlds openly argued with one another. The unity that once held the galaxy together was beginning to crack. Yet nobody worried too much. After all, the Council was still the strongest power in existence. Or so they believed. That belief shattered in a single day. It began at an observation station near the edge of explored space. The station floated quietly around a small star. Its crew spent most days monitoring shipping routes and recording sensor data. Nothing exciting ever happened there. Until now, Officer Talon was halfway through his shift when an alarm suddenly exploded across the control room. Red lights flashed. Warning signals filled every screen. Several crew members jumped from their seats. "What happened?" Talon shouted. A technician stared at his monitor. His face turned pale. "I'm detecting incoming vessels." Talon frowned. "How many?" The technician swallowed. For several seconds, he couldn't speak. Finally, he whispered, "Thousands." The room became silent. "That's impossible." The sensors updated again. Everyone watched the numbers climb. 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. The station had never recorded anything like this before. Not even Council battle fleets reached such numbers. Talon immediately opened a communication channel. "This is Border Station 7. We have unidentified vessels entering known space." "Repeat, unidentified vessels entering known space." The response came instantly. "Can you identify them?" Talon looked at the data. "No." The voice on the other side paused, then asked the question everyone feared. "Are they hostile?" Talon looked through the observation window. Far beyond the station, small lights were appearing. At first there were only a few, then hundreds, then thousands. The stars themselves seemed to move, entire sections of space filled with massive ships. The sight stole everyone's breath. These vessels were unlike anything in Council records. They were larger, faster, more advanced. Dark metallic hulls reflected distant starlight. Blue energy fields glowed across their surfaces. Each ship looked powerful enough to destroy a fleet by itself. And there were thousands of them. Talon's hands trembled. "I don't know if they're hostile." Then he zoomed in on one of the vessels. A symbol appeared. A blue world. A golden eagle. His eyes widened. "No." The technician looked at him. "What is it?" Talon stared at the screen. "The humans?" Within minutes, emergency alerts spread throughout the galaxy. Council worlds activated defense systems. Military bases entered high alert. Governors demanded answers. News networks interrupted normal broadcasts. Across hundreds of planets, citizens watched the same shocking images. Human ships, human fleets, Humanity had returned, and they looked nothing like the civilization that had left a century earlier. Inside the council capital, chaos erupted. The High Council immediately called an emergency meeting. Leaders rushed into the chamber. Many had never expected to hear the word human again. Now it was the only thing anyone could talk about. Council Speaker Verex was long dead. A new generation sat in his place. Yet even these leaders knew the history. They knew what had happened 100 years ago, and now they feared the consequences. The newest council speaker, a gray-skinned alien named Corlin, stood before the assembly. Report. Military Commander Zorak activated a large holographic display. The room filled with images. Every leader stared in disbelief. Human fleets were appearing across multiple border regions simultaneously. Thousands of ships, perfectly organized, perfectly disciplined. No attacks, no warnings, no demands. They were simply arriving. One council member spoke. How do they build fleets this large? Another leader asked, where have they been all this time? Nobody had answers. Then a military analyst stepped forward. His voice was uneasy. There is more. The room became silent. He changed the display. Several gasps echoed through the chamber. The largest ship appeared. It dwarfed everything around it. The vessel stretched for dozens of kilometers. Entire cities could fit inside it. Council leaders stared in disbelief. The analyst continued. Our scanners estimate this ship alone could overpower an entire council battle group. Nobody spoke. The silence became uncomfortable. For the first time in generations, fear entered the council chamber. Meanwhile, millions of kilometers away, the Terran Empire fleet continued its advance. Inside the flagship Resolute, Emperor Marcus Hale stood before a giant viewing screen. Thousands of human vessels surrounded the ship. The sight was magnificent. 100 years of preparation, 100 years of sacrifice, 100 years of growth. Everything had led to this moment. An officer approached. Your Majesty. Marcus nodded. Status. All fleets have entered designated positions. The Emperor studied the tactical display. Every movement happened exactly as planned. No mistakes. No confusion. No panic. The Empire operated like a single machine. The officer hesitated. Many commanders are requesting permission to proceed with Operation Justice. Marcus looked at him. Operation Justice. The military plan created decades earlier. The plan for conquering council space. The officer waited. The Emperor remained silent. Finally, he shook his head. No. The officer looked surprised. Sir. Marcus folded his hands behind his back. We did not come here for revenge. The officer nodded. Understood. Marcus turned toward the stars. The council expected anger. They expected hatred. They expected war. Humanity would give them something much worse. Uncertainty. Back on the council capital, military leaders finally made a decision. A defensive fleet would intercept the humans. Not attack, only observe. Several hundred council warships left the capital and moved toward the approaching Terran fleet. Their commanders believed the mission would be simple. Perhaps humanity wanted negotiations. Perhaps they wanted recognition. Maybe they simply wanted to return. Nobody imagined what would happen next. When the two fleets finally met, the difference became obvious immediately. Council ships looked ancient beside human vessels. Slow, outdated, weak. The alien commanders exchanged nervous glances. One captain whispered, "They've surpassed us." Then it happened. A human transmission arrived. Every ship received the same message. A calm human voice spoke. This is a Terran empire. Silence filled every bridge. We enter council space peacefully. The message continued. We seek no war. Several officers relaxed slightly. Then the voice added one final sentence. A sentence that sent chills through every listener. But if war is forced upon us, the outcome has already been decided. The transmission ended. No threats, no shouting, no insults, just certainty, absolute certainty. At that moment, deep inside the council chamber, another transmission arrived. This one was directed to the council itself. Speaker Corlin opened it immediately. The entire assembly watched. A human figure appeared on the screen. The room became silent. The man wore a dark Imperial uniform. His eyes showed calm confidence. Behind him stood the flag of Earth. He spoke only a few words, but those words changed everything. "I am Emperor Marcus Hale of the Terran Empire." He paused, then looked directly into the camera. "We have returned." The screen flickered. Every council leader leaned forward. The Emperor's next sentence made their hearts sink. "And we request a meeting." The room fell silent, because everyone understood the truth. Humanity was no longer asking for permission to exist. Humanity had returned as an empire, and now the galaxy would have to face the consequences of what it had done 100 years ago. The council chamber had never felt so quiet. Hundreds of leaders sat frozen in their seats as the image of Emperor Marcus Hale disappeared from the main screen. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The humans had returned, not as refugees, not as survivors, not as a broken civilization seeking forgiveness. They had returned as an empire, and somehow they had become stronger than the entire Galactic Council. Speaker Corlin slowly looked around the room. Fear was visible on every face. For the first time in generations, the Council was no longer the most powerful force in the galaxy. A military officer broke the silence. "What should we do?" No one answered. The question itself was terrifying. For 100 years, the Council had controlled every major decision in known space. Now they faced a problem they could not solve with authority. The humans were no longer beneath them. They were equals, possibly more than equals. Finally, Corlin stood. "Before we decide anything, I want every historical record related to Earth's exile." Several leaders looked surprised. "Why?" one asked. Corlin folded his arms. "Because I want to know if we created this problem ourselves." The chamber became silent again. Deep down, many already knew the answer. Hours later, a special investigation team entered the Council archives. The archives contained thousands of years of galactic history. Every treaty, every war, every secret. Nothing was ever erased. At least, that was the official claim. Chief Archivist Nira led the investigation. She was one of the most respected historians in Council space. If answers existed, she would find them. For 3 days, her team searched ancient files. Most records showed the official story. Humanity had been labeled dangerous. Humanity had expanded too quickly. Humanity represented a possible threat. But something felt wrong. Many documents were incomplete. Important files were missing. Entire sections had been restricted. Nira became suspicious. Someone had hidden something important. On the 4th day, her team discovered a sealed database. The files required authorization from council members who had died nearly a century earlier. After hours of work, they finally opened it. What they found changed everything. Nira stared at the screen in disbelief. The official story was a lie. A complete lie. One by one, secret recordings appeared. Private meetings, hidden discussions, classified reports. The truth became clear. Humanity had never been exiled because they were dangerous. Humanity had never broken major laws. Humanity had never threatened the Council. The real reason was far worse. Fear, pure fear. The old Council leaders had watched humanity's growth with increasing concern. Human colonies expanded faster than any species in recorded history. Human technology advanced rapidly. Human industries became stronger every year. Several powerful races feared that humans would eventually dominate the galaxy, so they acted first. They used false accusations, political pressure, manipulated reports. Everything had been planned. Earth's exile had not been justice. It had been sabotage. Nira felt sick. For 100 years, the galaxy had believed a lie created by leaders who feared competition. Immediately, the evidence was delivered to Speaker Corlin. The Council gathered once again. This time, the atmosphere felt different. Tension filled the room. Corlin activated the recordings. The chamber watched in horror. Old Council members openly discussing ways to stop humanity. Leaders talking about limiting human influence. Powerful races planning Earth's removal long before the public hearing. Every ugly secret appeared before them. When the final recording ended, nobody spoke. The truth was undeniable. An elderly representative slowly stood. His voice trembled. We were wrong. Others nodded. Some looked ashamed. Others looked angry. One leader slammed a fist against his desk. They destroyed an entire civilization's future because they were afraid. Arguments exploded throughout the chamber. Some demanded a formal apology. Others wanted immediate negotiations with humanity. Several leaders feared the Empire would use the information as justification for war. The political system that had ruled the galaxy for centuries began to crack. News of the investigation soon leaked. Within days, billions of citizens learned the truth. Shock spread everywhere. Protests erupted across council worlds. Citizens demanded answers. Many alien races that had once disliked humanity suddenly changed their views. People began asking difficult questions. If the council had lied about Earth, what else had they lied about? Confidence in the government collapsed. Entire sectors threatened to leave the council. Political leaders struggled to maintain control. And while all this happened, the Terran Empire remained silent. No threats, no attacks, no demands. Their silence made everyone even more nervous. Meanwhile, aboard the flagship Resolute, Emperor Marcus Hale received reports from across council space. An advisor entered his office. The truth is spreading rapidly. Marcus nodded. As expected. The advisor looked curious. You already knew they would discover it. The Emperor smiled slightly. We made sure they would. The advisor blinked. What? Marcus activated a holographic display. Several hidden files appeared. Our intelligence agents found the evidence decades ago. The advisor stared at him. You could have released it at any time. Yes. Then why wait? Marcus walked toward the large viewing window. Beyond the glass, thousands of Imperial warships moved through the darkness. Because truth has more power when people discover it themselves. The advisor understood immediately. If humanity had released the information, many would have called it propaganda. But now the Council's own historians had uncovered the evidence. No one could deny it. The Empire had won a political victory without firing a single shot. Suddenly, another officer rushed into the room. His expression was serious. Your Majesty. Marcus turned. What happened? A frontier colony has stopped responding. The room became silent. The officer activated a map. One small human settlement flashed red. A colony located near former council territory. Marcus narrowed his eyes. What caused the communication failure? The officer hesitated, then answered, We're not sure. Another screen appeared. Damaged buildings, burning structures, destroyed vehicles. The Emperor's face hardened. This was an accident. The officer nodded. No, sir. Military analysts had already reached the same conclusion. The colony had been attacked. Somebody had struck first. The question was who? Moments later, intelligence reports arrived. The attackers belonged to a secret organization, a hidden group made up of former council extremists. They blamed humanity for the galaxy's growing instability, and they had decided to take action without permission, without warning, without mercy. Marcus stared at the reports. The room became completely silent. Everyone understood the danger. One reckless attack could destroy any chance of peace. Finally, the Emperor spoke. His voice was calm, but every officer felt the tension behind it. How many casualties? The officer looked down. His answer came quietly. Thousands. The silence that followed felt heavier than any battle. Far away, among the stars, the fires of the destroyed colony continued to burn. And for the first time since humanity's return, anger began spreading across the Terran Empire because someone had just made a terrible mistake. Someone had attacked human civilians, and they were about to discover why the galaxy had feared humanity in the first place. The news spread across the Terran Empire within hours. A human colony had been attacked. Thousands of civilians were dead. Families had been destroyed. Children had vanished beneath collapsing buildings. Entire neighborhoods had been reduced to ash. For 100 years, humanity had prepared for many possibilities. They had prepared for rejection. They had prepared for fear. They had even prepared for war. But they had hoped it would never come to this. Across thousands of human worlds, people gathered in silence. The images from the colony played on every screen. Burning streets, destroyed homes, emergency workers searching through rubble, and one question echoed everywhere. Who was responsible? Inside the Imperial Palace on Nova Terra, Emperor Marcus Hale sat alone in a dark room. A large screen displayed the names of the victims. The list seemed endless. For several minutes, he said nothing. Finally, the door opened. Grand Admiral Sophia Reyes entered. She was the highest-ranking military officer in the Empire, a woman whose name was known across human space. She stopped in front of the Emperor. "The fleets are ready." Marcus kept staring at the screen. "I know." Sophia hesitated. "People want justice." The Emperor slowly nodded. "So do I." Silence filled the room. Then Marcus stood. His face showed no anger. That somehow made him look even more dangerous. "Bring me the latest intelligence report." Sophia activated a hologram. A cluster of star systems appeared. Red markers flashed across the map. The attackers belonged to an extremist organization called the Purity Front. Marcus studied the display. The group consisted of former military officers, wealthy industrial leaders, and political radicals. Many had served under the old council decades ago. They hated humanity, and they feared what the Terran Empire represented. The Purity Front believed the only solution was to destroy humanity before it became unstoppable. Unfortunately for them, they had just given humanity a reason to act. Sophia pointed toward a hidden base. Our intelligence network located their primary headquarters. The Emperor examined the information. The base was heavily defended. Thousands of ships, orbital weapons, planetary shields. The extremists had spent decades preparing for conflict. They clearly believed they could win. Marcus almost felt sorry for them. Almost. Send a message. Sophia raised an eyebrow. A warning? No. The Emperor looked directly at her. A surrender demand. The Admiral smiled slightly. The extremists never responded. Instead, they launched another attack. This time they targeted a civilian transport convoy. Hundreds more died. That was enough. The next morning, every military commander in the Terran Empire received a single order. Operation Guardian had begun. Across hundreds of systems, Imperial fleets moved into action. The response was immediate. Massive formations of warships emerged from quantum gateways. Entire sectors lit up as human fleets crossed the stars. For the first time, the galaxy witnessed the true power of the Terran Empire. Council citizens watched in shock. The numbers alone seemed impossible. Thousands upon thousands of advanced warships. Carrier groups larger than cities. Titan-class vessels stretching across space like moving continents. Every fleet moved with perfect coordination. Every ship knew exactly where it needed to be. The Empire had transformed warfare into mathematics. And mathematics rarely made mistakes. The first battle occurred above a mining world controlled by the extremists. Purity Front commanders expected a difficult fight. They never expected what happened next. As their fleets prepared defensive positions, human ships entered the system. Then everything changed. New weapons appeared. Technology the galaxy had never seen before. Human vessels projected massive energy fields across the battlefield. Enemy sensors failed instantly. Communications collapsed. Targeting systems stopped functioning. Entire fleets became blind. Before the extremists could react, precision strikes disabled their warships. Not destroyed. Disabled. Humanity was making a statement. The Empire could have wiped them out. Instead, they chose control. Within 20 minutes, the battle ended. Thousands of extremist soldiers surrendered. The news spread rapidly. One victory became 3. 3 became 10. 10 became 50. Everywhere the extremists fought, they lost. Entire strongholds collapsed. Military bases surrendered. Fleet commanders abandoned their positions. The Purity Front had expected hatred to unite the galaxy against humanity. Instead, the opposite happened. Many alien worlds openly supported the Empire. Some even offered military assistance. The truth about Earth's exile had changed everything. Humanity was no longer viewed as a threat. The extremists were. One by one, their allies disappeared. One by one, their defenses failed. Within weeks, only a single stronghold remained. The capital fortress of the Purity Front, a heavily fortified world hidden near the center of Council space. It was their final refuge, and everyone knew it. The extremists gathered every remaining ship they possessed. More than 20,000 warships surrounded the fortress planet. Orbital cannons covered the skies. Defense platforms formed layers around the system. It was the largest military force they had ever assembled. The extremist leader, High Commander Voss, stood inside his command center. His face was filled with determination. "We will hold." An officer looked nervous. "Sir, Imperial fleets are approaching." Voss clenched his fists. "How many?" The officer checked the report, then checked it again. His voice became unsteady. "All of them." For a moment, nobody understood. "What do you mean, all of them?" The officer swallowed hard. "Every major Imperial fleet has entered the system." Silence followed. Then the main screen activated. The stars vanished behind an endless wall of ships. Human vessels filled every direction. Thousands, then tens of thousands, then more. The display could barely count them. Several officers simply stared in disbelief. Voss felt cold. For the first time, doubt entered his mind. The Empire had not sent an army. The Empire had sent civilization itself. Meanwhile, aboard the flagship Resolute, Emperor Marcus Hale watched the fortress world appear on the screen. This was the final battle. The conflict could end here. An officer approached. "Enemy forces are preparing to engage." Marcus nodded. "Open a channel." Moments later, High Commander Voss appeared on the screen. The extremist leader looked exhausted, but defiant. Marcus studied him quietly, then spoke. "You attacked civilians." Voss said nothing. "You murdered innocent people." Still no answer. The Emperor's eyes hardened. "You started this war." Finally, Voss responded. "You should have stayed exiled." The bridge fell silent. Marcus looked at him for several seconds. Then he delivered a simple reply. "The galaxy already made that mistake once." The transmission ended. Across the system, human fleets began moving forward. Thousands of engines ignited simultaneously. The stars themselves seemed to shake. The final battle for the future of the galaxy had begun, and at the center of it all stood the Terran Empire, stronger, larger, and more united than anyone had ever imagined. The next few hours would decide everything. The stars above the fortress world burned with light. Thousands of ships filled the darkness. Weapons charged. Defense platforms prepared to fire. The largest battle in modern galactic history had begun. Yet something strange happened. The Terran Empire did not attack. The human fleets continued moving forward in perfect formation, but no weapons fired. No missiles launched. No energy beams crossed the void. The extremist commanders were confused. High Commander Voss stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the tactical display. What were they doing? Nobody knew. The human fleet was advancing slowly, almost calmly, as if they had already won. An officer suddenly shouted, "Sir, human ships are entering weapon range." Voss clenched his fists. "Open fire." The order spread instantly. Thousands of extremist weapons fired at once. The darkness exploded with energy. Missiles streaked through space. Heavy plasma cannons unleashed their power. Entire fleets released everything they had. The attack was massive, the largest barrage ever recorded. Millions watched across the galaxy. Everyone expected destruction. Instead, they witnessed something impossible. The human fleet continued forward. Unaffected, a glowing blue shield appeared around the Imperial Armada. Enemy fire struck the barrier and vanished. Not weakened, not slowed, vanished. Shock spread through every command center, every military analyst, every council world. The technology was beyond anything they understood. The extremists fired again, and again, and again. Nothing changed. The shield held. The Terran Empire advanced without losing a single ship. For the first time, fear appeared on Voss's face. Then the humans responded, not with destruction, with precision. Golden beams of light crossed the battlefield. One after another, extremist ships lost power. Engines failed. Weapons shut down. Defense systems went offline. Entire fleets became helpless. Within minutes, thousands of enemy vessels drifted through space, unable to fight. The battle was ending before it had truly begun. Meanwhile, aboard the Resolute, Emperor Marcus Hale watched quietly. His officers waited for further orders. One commander stepped forward. "The enemy fleet is defeated." Marcus nodded. "What about civilian casualties?" "Zero." The Emperor seemed satisfied. That had always been the goal. Victory without unnecessary death. The officer hesitated. "There is still the fortress world." Marcus looked toward the planet on the screen. The final stronghold of the extremists. The place where the attacks had been planned. The place where innocent lives had been taken. One order could erase it from existence. The Empire had the power. Everyone knew it. The galaxy knew it. The extremists knew it. Even Voss knew it. Back on the fortress world, panic spread through military headquarters. Soldiers abandoned their posts. Government officials tried to escape. Communication systems collapsed. The end had arrived. Voss stood alone inside his command center. The battle outside was lost. Every defense had failed. Every plan had collapsed. A young officer approached him. His voice shook. "Sir, the humans are requesting contact." Voss laughed bitterly. "Contact." The officer nodded. "They want to speak with you." For several seconds, Voss said nothing. Then he agreed. The screen activated. Emperor Marcus Hale appeared. Calm, confident, victorious. The two leaders stared at one another. One represented fear. The other represented the future. Finally, Voss spoke. "So this is it." Marcus remained silent. "You've won." Still no response. Voss laughed again. A tired laugh. "Why haven't you destroyed us?" That question had spread throughout the galaxy. Everyone wanted the answer. Marcus finally spoke. "Because destruction is easy." The room became silent. The Emperor continued. "Building something better is harder." Voss stared at him, unable to understand. Marcus folded his hands behind his back. 100 years ago, the galaxy chose fear. Images appeared behind him. The exile, the lies, the betrayal. The Council feared humanity's potential. The images changed. Human colonies, human cities, human families. They tried to stop us. More images appeared. The Empire's growth, its achievements, its unity. They failed. Marcus looked directly at Voss. "Not because we were stronger." He paused. "Because we refused to become what they expected." The words echoed through the command center. Across the galaxy, billions listened. Every major news network was broadcasting the conversation. Every citizen heard the same message. Humanity had returned, and they had a choice: revenge or something greater. Voss lowered his eyes. For the first time, he understood. The Empire's greatest strength was not its fleets, not its technology, not its armies. It was its vision, the ability to move beyond hatred. Slowly, Voss sat down. His fight was over. "What happens now?" Marcus answered immediately. "You surrender." Voss nodded. "And after that?" The Emperor looked toward the stars, then gave an answer nobody expected. "We rebuild." The transmission ended. Hours later, the Purity Front officially surrendered. The war was over. Across Council space, celebrations erupted. Citizens cheered. Ships sounded their horns. Entire worlds filled with relief. The nightmare had ended. A week later, the Galactic Council gathered once more. This time, Emperor Marcus Hale stood inside the same chamber where Ambassador Daniel Hayes had been judged 100 years earlier. The room was packed. Representatives from hundreds of species watched in silence. Many remembered the old stories. Many knew exactly what had happened here. Speaker Corlin slowly stepped forward. His voice was heavy with emotion. 100 years ago, this council failed humanity. The chamber remained silent. We acted out of fear. Several leaders lowered their heads. We betrayed our own principles. Corlin looked directly at Marcus. For that, we offer our deepest apology. The words echoed through the hall. History had come full circle. The galaxy waited for the Emperor's response. Marcus stood quietly for a moment. Then he smiled. A small smile, but a genuine one. Apology accepted. The room released a collective breath. Then Marcus stepped forward. We did not return to rule through fear. He looked around the chamber. We returned to build a future together. The audience listened carefully. The Emperor activated a hologram. Advanced medical technology appeared. New energy systems. Agricultural breakthroughs. Scientific discoveries. Technologies capable of transforming entire civilizations. Humanity shared them freely, not as conquerors, as partners. Over the following years, a new alliance emerged, stronger than the old council, fairer than the old council. A civilization built on cooperation instead of fear. Humanity became one of its leaders.